So they can remove it manually, or they can do it quicker in co-op with another survivor. As Springtrap, you can also retrieve it yourself. If you get in close, you can skip kind of the steps of downing the survivor and picking them up. You get in close to a survivor that has the axe embedded in them. You click the button, you grab the axe and the survivor at the same time. Ooh. You get a cool little jump scare, and then you're carrying them on your shoulder. A couple of little notes. One of them is while you have your projectile available, you move at 4.4 meters per second. There he is.
A little glimpse of some jump scare action.
But once you've thrown the axe, you actually move at 4.6 meters per second. It's something that we've never really done basically for killer. It makes for some really interesting tactical choices, meaning that you have to recall the axe manually. It never comes back to you automatically unless you throw it out of the map, because you can make a mistake. But yeah, as long as it's in the environment or in a survivor or whatever it is, you have to manually recall it.
So it lightens his load a little bit, makes him a bit faster.
Exactly.
Perfect. So that brings us to another unique part of his gameplay, and I think super iconic to Five Nights at Freddy's, the security office. So let's get into that.
Yeah. So it was really important for us to give the killer and the survivor a really kind of interesting shared experience in that space, which allowed us to also lean into the jump scares. And some of the ways we can be used by survivors or killers to teleport around the map.
Yeah, there be a door.
There it is. And survivors can also use them for surveillance. So as a survivor, you interact with the door. It brings up the camera view. You'll get the kind of iconic map view in the bottom right of all the different cameras. On the bottom left, you'll see your battery power, which we'll talk about in a second.
Dude, this is fire,
on the other doors,
frankly.
between doors. If you see something that, if it looks safe on the other end, you press the button. Your character goes into the security office, and then it's kind of like a hands-off, almost like a theme park experience where you see this first-person view going through the office, which is really cool.
And one thing you mentioned, again, just in case we have new folks playing, regardless of what map you're playing on, this functionality, the security room will be there as long as Springtrap is the killer in the match.
Yeah, exactly. And as a survivor, if you happen to see Springtrap through a camera, if you train the camera on him for a few seconds, he'll be revealed for a little bit for the whole survivor team.
And what about what if Springtrap goes in at the same time as a survivor goes in at a different door and they meet?
Yeah, so since they can both use the doors in the security office, we wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for that interaction. So if a survivor is moving through that space from one door to the other, and Springtrap, excuse me, chooses one of those two doors, whether the one they're coming from or the one they're going to, he'll interrupt them in the security office for a fun little surprise.
Ooh. Awesome. I love all the little touches that the team has planted in there like that. I think the fans are really going to love it, including this. You mentioned the battery. Managing the battery is part of this as well. So how's that work in DBD?
Even in Dead by Daylight, I can't get away from the power. Like, what the hell?
Down per second while you're using it. Just sitting there and telling all their friends. So it drains a little bit.
Yes, I am.
Chunk in one shot.
Or if you can hear a vacuum in the background.
It slowly recharges on its own over time, but you have to kind of manage when and where you're using it. If the battery does run out, the security system, which is kind of the doors, the cameras, the office, goes into shutdown mode for 45 seconds. But Springtrap is not affected by the battery. So if the survivors have kind of overplayed their hand and they shut the security office down, they've kind of given up their one bit of power in this chapter, and Springtrap can still use the doors and bounce around and do whatever he wants.
Dangerous. Fantastic. But what about disabling the doors?
Yes. So to go back to the axe, if the killer hits either a camera or a door, the whole thing, with their axe, that door and the camera becomes unavailable to survivors. They can't use it to teleport away. They can't teleport to that door.
Oh shit! Right. Hold on.
The camera that's been disabled.
There we go.
When the killer retrieves it, that effect lingers a little bit. It becomes a really cool way of like, I need to scope this area out, but I don't want to be revealed or seen. Move the door, move around, use it to fake the survivors out.
Got it. But it's not permanent. The door can be used again after the axe has been retrieved. Cool.
Unless it's in shutdown, which means the survivors can't use it anyway.
Right. Cool. Okay, so speaking about moving around the map, which it sounds like we have a new exciting way to do that. One of the coolest things about the chapter, in fact, is the map. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is now a new map, a new level within Dead by Daylight for DBD fans, specifically in the Withered Isle realm. So what can you tell us about the map?
Yeah, so the art team and the level design team, much like me, they did a ton of research, and like I don't say this just because we're doing the stream here, but it's becoming one of my favorite maps. I love it so much. In the same way that we worked hard at kind of integrating a lot of opportunities for jump scares into the killer gameplay, their team really wanted to make sure that they did the same when it comes to things like Easter eggs and scares around the map. So it really pays off if you're kind of an exploratory player a little bit.
Amazing. So are there some areas that you want to shout out that Five Nights at Freddy's fans might recognize?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a
ball
lot.
pit.
You'll see a lot of small references and stuff, but obviously we've recreated a lot of kind of the iconic areas from the game.
I hope the
We're
backstage
also
is there.
letting
The
the kids
backstage has
into
been one of my
the
favorites
pizzeria to explore
forever.
the outside a little bit, which is really cool. And we wanted to kind of add a little bit more space to allow for more dynamic chases and whatnot.
Yeah.
But for the rooms, we've got the lobby, we've got the dining hall, of course, with the full animatronic band on stage. It's very cool. And we have the arcade.
I wonder if they play
It's,
music. I think
it's
that'd
all
be
very
cool.
kind
That's
of
not the arcade.
Decorated like a birthday party. And we have areas like the kitchen and even the mechanical room, which is cool. And
We can
yeah,
see a
there you
little
go,
glimpse
yeah.
right there too.
Yeah, so altogether this should kind of feel like I guess a formerly working
Yes.
pizzeria. And of course, since it's Dead by Daylight, the entity's weird pustules and deformations are everywhere to remind you exactly of where you still are and
You're
where
making a
you're stuck.
judgment call on those pustules there, Jay.
But if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, I think you're really gonna love the map. They've done a lot of really cool work.
Yeah, it's super fun. And it looks really good too. The art team did
It does.
half
It looks
of
very good.
But also with Springtrap wandering around, it's like a terror. And I think for Five Nights at Freddy's fans, like, whoop, you're going to be in familiar territory.
Yeah.
So one other nice thing that we did mention on the PAX broadcast, but I do want to mention it again, we're going to have a separate queue for this map specifically, which means you want to go to the game and you just want to check out the map. Normally, in the past, you'd be in the general rotation of maps and all that. Now you can go straight in just to the pizzeria without having to hope that you get there. So it's going to be its own queue when you join the game.
Yeah, and that's a feature that's going forward with any chapter with a new map. We'll have a unique queue for that new map, which is really cool.
Perfect. Okay, how about some last tips
Yep.
for survivors and for killer players?
Yeah, so for the killer as Springtrap, but they're really valuable tools if you get
My Wi-Fi
used to
hates
them,
me today.
Use it to reveal the killer and kind of scoping out the area. You
Glued to your Twitch screen so you can
Oh.
play it, test it out. Thank you
Anyways,
so
as
much
I
for
was
joining
saying
us.
before I got
Show must
rudely
go on.
interrupted.
So next we're going to bring out our friend Justin Banks to fill you in on DBD's anniversary event that's right around the corner.
Yeehaw, Twisted Masquerade.
To the fog, but also our anniversary event is right around the corner. So what better way to party and welcome back the anniversary event and get ourselves nice and warm by the fire than with Justin Banks.
Thank you, Dork. I'm really happy to be back with all you guys out there. It's another masquerade, another year where they dust me off, take me out of the locker, and get ready to talk to you guys about what is happening for this year's masquerade.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to hear how we're going to be partying it up in this this year's anniversary event.
Yeah, so there's lots of stuff going on, and it's a special one because, as I think you saw by the title just before, after 4 years, this is going to be our final masquerade. We have lots of laughs, lots of fun, and the response to all of the gameplay, the cosmetics, the aesthetics have all been incredible since we got this party started. So our final masquerade event is actually going to start in about a month and run from June 25th to July 16th. While we're sad to see it go, I mean, it was a really fun theme that we worked on internally. We've had a gas working on it every single year, but we're going to close out with one last big hurrah before moving on to something completely brand new for our 10th anniversary next year.
Yeah,
I don't want to
baby.
hype, I don't want to tease, but come back a year from now and we're going to have something really special for you.
I'm really excited to see what we come up with. But also when in terms of actual gameplay, when we're talking about the return of Twisted Masquerade, is it true that the team decided to work on fine-tuning what we've currently got instead of adding new things to the whole shebang?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few things that we're doing to really focus on the quality of life of the game overall. So you've seen all of you guys out there, I
Colorblind
don't even know
filters?
what camera I'm
Colorblind
looking at
filters?
that with. All of you guys out there, you've all seen how we are pushing for quality of life. We want to make sure that it's the game that, it's the game you got such a long time. We're fixing
Almost a
long-standing bugs,
decade,
we're
baby.
adding features to just improve your overall experience.
Oh, I've been playing this
And we
game
want
since
that
I
to
was
translate
10.
to
That
how
feels
we deal with
weird.
events as well. So we made the decision to focus a lot of our resources on that quality of life and less so on adding to new gameplay features for this final Twisted Masquerade event.
Okay, so in terms of that, then, what expect to see returning to the fog with this Twisted Masquerade?
So returning, well, I can just summarize by saying all the really cool stuff that we've done before.
Oh, are they bringing back
it's fun to work on
everything?
this stuff year after year. So what we have coming back are the invitation powers
Yeah.
that are super
I
fun.
love
You
the
can select as
invitations, they're so
survivor or
good.
killer, and you'll have different powers to use their charges for. We're bringing back the bag of tricks that we introduced last year. Which
Okay,
creates
okay,
a random
okay.
effect on the match, that happens based on the progression of completing generators, accumulating.
The bag of tricks was fun. I hated the one that randomly exposed you.
Keep it moving. We're also bringing back Father Campbell's chapel.
Okay,
decorated
okay, okay,
the
okay.
entire party, and it's
Is Maurice back?
still all the same decorations as last year, but we're signaling the party's coming to an end over
dwindling
there.
down.
Yeah, and we'll even have a little bit of Five Nights at Freddy's theming showing up in our anniversary lobby.
What?
Okay, I love the fact that the lobby is going to be like a party in more ways than one.
Dude,
Plus, all the
yay!
returning content. I mean, what's not to love there? I cannot wait to get my hands on my invitation just to cause ruckus. So, when you're talking about the quality of life, though, are the players going to be able to experience that in the gameplay with Twisted Masquerade this year?
Absolutely. So when we were looking at how quality of life applies to, let's say, the game as a whole, we're saying, well, there are some elements of events that could work better for a better player experience. So while by and large everything from the event was really well received, we know people enjoy the invitation powers, the bag of tricks, etc., there was one big friction point from last year that we wanted to fix, which was the remote hook power for the invitations. So we've tweaked that a little bit just to apply some quality of life to this event itself, to make sure that as a killer is using it, it's no longer instant. You can't just look at a hook and bam, the survivor goes there.
Okay.
Now what will happen is the survivor has to look at a hook, they'll hold a button for a period of time, and then the survivor will be teleported. And it will also be obvious that the killer is doing this so the survivors have time for their counterplay to make them drop their partner. So
Okay.
we're really hoping that creates some more friendly gameplay, some less abusive elements, and just an overall much better party for everyone to play through.
It's going to be great. I'm really excited for that, yeah.
So in addition to that, last year we pulled back the curtain on our host of the anniversary that we've shown around in quite a few
I love
episodes.
her.
We showed
She's
off last year
amazing.
in a lot of ways. Our darling Trix. So since this is the last masquerade, her presence is going to be a little less felt, so you won't hear her or see her as often. And then she'll just be, with the masquerade, fading away into the fog, you could say.
Oh, that's really sad that we're going to see her fading away, but I understand. At least we get to enjoy her while we still have her.
Yep.
Can she just
So,
be a
with this
skin? I
last
want
vlog,
Trix
what does this mean
permanently.
for the Twisted Masquerade rewards and outfits?
So this is probably one of my favorite parts to talk about, because when we see these concepts every year,